Welcome to the deep dive. We cut through the clutter to get you knowledge that, well, actually sticks.
Yeah, exactly.
Feeling like you're just drowning in apps, too many repetitive tasks.
It's a common feeling for sure.
Well, today we're looking at workflow automation as a potential lifeline.
And specifically a platform called n8n. That's n8n.
Right. You're going deep on this one. So, workflow automation, basically making software do the boring stuff for you.
Pretty much. Automating those tedious tasks, connecting different tools, moving data around, stuff that eats up your time.
Okay, so there are tools out there already, lots of them.
True.
The question is, what makes n8n stand out? Why are we digging into this one?
That's the plan. We've got some solid info here, mainly an overview document about n8n itself.
And our mission really is to figure out its unique selling points, especially if you're someone who wants maybe a bit more control, more customization.
Exactly. Or if you're technically minded, we want to see what makes it tick, particularly compared to the others.
They've got this interesting tagline, don't they? Something about code and no code.
Yeah, the flexibility of code with the speed of no code. It's quite a claim.
Okay, let's see if they back it up. So first off, what is n8n? Founded in Berlin, 2019.
That's right. Relatively new still. And fundamentally, you can think of it as an ETL tool.
ETL, extract, transform, load.
Yep. Grab data from somewhere, maybe clean it up or change it somehow. That's the transform. And then send it where it needs to go, the load.
So like pulling sales numbers from your CRM,
Right.
calculating the average, and sticking it in a spreadsheet or a dashboard.
Precisely. That kind of data journey is exactly what tools like this are built for.
Okay, but here's where it seems different. It's not just visual, right?
Joe, and that's key. It has the drag and drop visual builder, which looks pretty standard, quite intuitive.
Makes it easy to start.
For sure. But the kicker is you can also write your own code right in the workflow.
Using what, JavaScript?
JavaScript or Python, yeah, which is a big deal.
So that's the hybrid approach they talk about.
It is. It means it's accessible, for simpler stuff or for people starting out.
Right.
But when you hit a wall or need something really specific,
You can code it yourself.
exactly, that level of control, it's not always there in purely visual tools. It bridges that gap.
And it's all built on nodes, like building blocks.
Yeah, a node-based architecture. Each node does one thing. Send an email, talk to an API, wait for a bit.
Yeah.
And you just connect these nodes together in the order you want things to happen. That's your workflow.
Sounds quite logical. Easy to see the steps.
It makes visualizing and, importantly, debugging much easier, especially when things get complicated. You see the flow.
Okay, so that's the basic idea. But what can it actually do? What are the standout features here?
Well, first off, the sheer number of integrations is pretty impressive.
How many are we talking?
Over 400 pre-built connections. Things like CRMs, marketing tools, Slack, Trello, developer tools. A really wide range.
400, wow. But what if, you use some obscure app that's not on the list?
Good question. They have what's called an HTTP request node,
Okay.
which basically lets you talk to almost any web service directly using its API.
So even if there's no specific block, you can still connect.
Exactly. And even cooler for developers, you can just paste in CURL commands.
CURL. Explain that quickly.
It's a command line tool developers use all the time to interact with web APIs directly. So if you already have the command, you just paste it in super quick.
Right, so connectivity seems pretty well covered. Let's circle back to that code flexibility. Why is adding JavaScript or Python such a big plus?
It's about escaping limitations. You're not stuck with just what the pre-built nodes can do.
You can do custom logic.
Totally custom logic,
Yeah.
really specific data manipulation, calculations that aren't standard, interacting with APIs in very fine-grained ways. Plus, you can bring in external libraries .npm for JavaScript Python libraries.
Which opens up even more possibilities.
A huge amount, yeah. You're leveraging the entire ecosystem of those languages.
And it's not just writing big chunks of code, is it? You mentioned expressions.
Right. Expressions let you use data from earlier steps to control how later nodes behave, make things dynamic.
Okay.
And yeah, pasting CURL commands is more about convenience for devs, but it fits that theme of flexibility.
Got it. What about building more complex workflows? Things that need, like, decisions or loops?
Yeah, it handles that well. You've got conditional logic like if this, then that branches using switch or if nodes.
So the workflow can split based on data.
Exactly. And it supports looping, so you can process lists of items, say, send an email to everyone on a list.
Essential for lots of tasks.
Definitely. And interestingly, it also lets you merge branches back together. not just split them apart.
I would say useful.
It allows for more complex orchestration. Maybe you run 2 processes in parallel and then need to combine the results before moving on.
Okay, that sounds pretty sophisticated. Now, something else caught my eye. AI integration.
Yeah, that's pretty cutting edge for this space. They have built-in AI nodes.
What can they do?
Things related to processing text using AI models. And it supports LangChain.
LangChain. That's for building AI applications, right?
Exactly. So you could build workflows that, say, generate summaries, analyze customer feedback sentiment.
Using AI.
Yeah, potentially even training or using your own custom AI models within your n8n workflows. It points towards some really powerful future uses.
Wow, okay. That is thinking ahead. Now, for the person actually building this stuff, is it easy to work with? What if it breaks?
They seem to have focused on the developer experience, or maybe just the builder experience.
How so?
Well, things like single-step reruns, you change one node, you can just rerun that single step to test it.
Instead of running the whole 10-minute workflow again.
Exactly. Saves so much time. And data replay or mocking lets you test with sample data easily.
And debugging, finding errors.
Yeah, inline debugging, logs, the tools you'd expect to pinpoint problems quickly.
Makes sense.
Plus, they have over 1,700 templates.
Templates for common tasks.
Yeah, gives you a starting point so you're not always building from scratch. Helps you learn faster, too.
Okay, so you build your workflow. Where does it actually live, run from?
You've got options there. That's another key point. You can self-host it.
Meaning run it on your own server.
Or your own cloud account, yeah. Total control over the infrastructure and, crucially, your data.
That sounds important for security or privacy-conscious folks.
Absolutely. If you have strict data sovereignty rules, self-hosting is often the way to go.
But there's an easier option, too.
Yep, they offer a cloud-hosted version. They manage the servers, the updates, all that. More convenience, less control, maybe.
Trade-offs, as always. Okay, let's peek under the hood just a bit. What tech is it running on?
Well, for data moving between nodes, it uses JSON.
Standard stuff.
Very standard, just structured data. The default database it uses for itself is Squatter.
Lightweight, easy.
Yeah, good for getting started, but you can configure it for other databases like PostgreSQL if you need something more heavy duty.
And it uses something called type ORM for database stuff.
Right, that's the library it uses to talk to the database, handle queries, manage updates. Solid common tech.
Okay, makes sense. Now, the big question for many, cost. How does the pricing work?
It's quite interesting, actually. Their cloud plans have tiers based on executions and active workflows.
The executions meaning each time a workflow runs start to finish.
Exactly. And the starter plan is around €20 a month if you pay annually.
Okay. But what's the key difference in how they charge?
They charge per execution, not per task or operation within that execution.
So if my workflow has, say, 20 steps.
It still counts as one execution when it runs.
Whereas other tools might charge for each of those 20 steps.
Some do, yeah. Like Zapier often counts each step as a task.
Yeah.
So for complex multi-step workflows, NRN can be way cheaper.
That's a really important distinction, especially as workflows get more complex.
Definitely. And remember the self-hosting option. The community edition is free.
Free, completely.
The software is free. You just pay for your own server costs, whatever that might be, which could be very little.
Right. What about the license for that free version? It's called Fair Code.
Yeah, the sustainable use license, it's a bit different from pure open source.
How so?
The source code is available, you can modify it, you can self-host it, build custom nodes. Well, that's fine.
Right.
But there are restrictions on using it commercially at scale if you're embedding it directly into a product you sell, for example. It's mainly for internal business purposes.
Okay. But you could run your business on it.
Absolutely. And interestingly, providing consulting services around n8n is specifically allowed. It's trying to keep it open, but protect their business model.
Makes sense.
Okay.
Okay, so let's put it head to head. n8n versus Zapier.
Big difference, number one, self-hosting. Zapier is cloud only.
Right. Big deal for data control.
Huge. Then the pricing per execution versus per task, we covered that. Potential big savings with n8n for complex stuff. n8n generally offers deeper technical capabilities, the coding option. Zapier is more focused on simplicity, maybe less technical users.
Gotcha.
Oh, and n8n doesn't charge extra for premium app connections, which Zapier sometimes does.
Okay. What about n8n versus Make? formerly Integromat.
Again, self-hosting is a key differentiator for n8n. Make doesn't offer that, so data sovereignty is stronger with n8n potentially.
And the tech flexibility.
n8n generally pushes further with the coding options, the customization. Make is very powerful visually, but n8n leans a bit more towards developers wanting that deeper control.
So different strengths, different target users almost.
Kind of, yeah, though there's
Yeah.
definitely overlap.
Okay, theory is great, but does it work in practice? Any real-world examples?
Yeah, the source mentioned a really good one, Border.
Border. What do they do?
They help people relocate digitally, specifically to Portugal. Lots of paperwork coordination.
Sounds like a prime candidate for automation.
Totally. They use n8n to connect tools like Postmark for email, Paperform for forms, Strike for payments, Airtable for data.
Okay, connecting the dots.
And they automated some really complex things like generating power of attorney PDFs, sending specific transactional emails based on triggers.
Stuff that would take ages manually.
Exactly. And the founder, Richard Lowe, was quoted saying something like, for anything beyond super simple stuff, they use n8n because it's just a lot more powerful than alternatives like Zapier for them.
And it helped them scale?
Massively, yeah. Went from a side project to a serious business, largely thanks to being able to automate so much of the back-end work.
That's a strong case study.
Ah.
Any other common uses popping up?
Yeah, lots. People are using it for home automation, controlling lights, routines.
Okay.
IT operations, monitoring websites, managing DNS, communications auto-posting to social media, summarizing reports, security tasks, making CRM smarter, even prototyping backends for apps or just pulling data from websites. It's really versatile.
Seems like it's gaining traction then. What of the company itself and the community?
Company looks solid. They raised a big funding round, a $55 million Series B, just recently, March 2025.
That's serious money. Shows investor confidence.
Definitely. And the adoption numbers are huge. Over 100 million Docker pulls. That's how developers often install software like this.
Wow.
And their GitHub project, over 80,000 stars. That puts it in the top, 150 projects on GitHub. It's popular.
And the community. Are people helping each other out?
Very much so. It seems quite vibrant. People sharing templates, building custom nodes, answering questions. That's a huge asset for any platform, especially a technical one.
Okay, let's wrap this up. What are the main takeaways from this deep dive on n8n?
I think the core thing is that unique blend. The easy visual start, but with the power of real code underneath.
Flexibility and control seem to be the key words.
Absolutely. That plus the self-hosting option for data sovereignty and the potentially cost-effective pricing model for complex workflows.
It seems particularly good for people with some technical skill or those who want to develop it.
Yeah, or just anyone who feels constrained by simpler tools and needs more power, more control over their data and processes. And the strong growth in community suggests it's got legs.
So the bottom line for you listening,
Yeah.
if you're searching for an automation tool that doesn't box you in, that can grow with you, offers deep customization, and lets you decide where your data lives.
Then n8n is definitely one you should check out further.
Right. And that leads to maybe a final thought to chew on. With AI getting woven into everything, how might platforms like n8n with this code-auto-code mix change things?
That's a fascinating question. It moves beyond just simple task automation, right?
Yeah, could you build truly intelligent workflows, adaptive ones?
Workflows that learn, that make more complex decisions, powered by AI, orchestrated by something like n8n, maybe using your own data.
What kind of new possibilities does that hybrid approach unlock for you and your work or business?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
Mm.
Something to think about.